In this, I'll be discussing the preliminary work I've made, including a match on action test, an opening sequence test, and the lift pitch. All of these were made prior to the full product, and we made them in order to gain experience with equipment such as tripods, lights, and cameras, and the actual technology we used, for instance, editing software. Along the way to making our full product, we learnt new things and also improved our use of cameras and knowing what makes a good video. The very first preliminary task we had was where we had to create a short video including the use of match on action. It was important we did this because we learnt what it meant exactly to use continuity editing in order to improve a video, and it can also help set up the narrative as we follow the characters along. This was only a 14-second long video, but it gave us enough footage to work with and was just as valuable if we were to create a longer preliminary task. Since this was the first preliminary work we had done, we had to have many takes, with sometimes forgetting to press record on the cameras to not always having the camera in the right position. We had to work with the cameras, trying them out in different places in the room so that other cameras weren't visible in the frame. The cameras used were autofocus, which meant that we would have to sit there and watch the screen, waiting for it to focus itself. Creating an autofocus camera was a good idea because the camera knew best what to focus on. When it came to the post-production of this video, it took us a while to get used to the software, which was Final Cut Pro, and we had to watch tutorials on how to do the basics. Because we used different cameras filming at the same time, we had to choose which footage to use from certain cameras in order to make the continuity run as smooth as possible. We had to re-watch it multiple times, looking out for continuity errors. The second preliminary video we made was our lift pitch. This was also involving continuity editing, and we focused on this video more because it had a narrative. We used a tripod and one camera this time instead of 3 cameras. The camera that we used didn't have a flip screen, which meant it was difficult to see whether or not we were in shot, as there was only me and Charlie present. To overcome this issue, we went down to the locker area where it was relatively quiet and placed the camera against the lockers. We placed it against the lockers so that we could see the screen and the reflection of the door and move so we were in frame. Because we couldn't make a set of a real lift, we had to create the illusion that we were in one by standing in a corner against a plain background and using one corner of the room to our advantage. What has improved since this video is the use of lighting. We used artificial lighting for the lift pitch and we couldn't change the setting of the lighting, so we were stuck with it. It came out quite yellow in the video and we have since learnt how to change lighting. For the full project we used studio lights to have the lighting how we wanted it, either reducing or increasing it, and the type of light was white opposed to a yellow tone like in the lift pitch. In the full project we moved the lights around to see where we wanted the shadows to lie and where the light should be focused on the board. We used Foley sound to implicate and emphasise the sound of my footprints walking to the lift, making sure the sound is in time with the moving feet. We also included the backing music of a classical lift music and a ding at the end to put across the idea the lift reached the floor. This was a progression from the previous preliminary task because we learnt how to download sound to suit the purpose of our video and how to improvise, for example not having many cameras and not being able to see if we were in shot. This is the final preliminary video we made before moving on to film the full product because we felt we had learnt enough and gained useful experience so we'd be ready to film the real thing. This video was only quickly edited and only there to serve the purpose of making shots we were using the full product and how we should film them. We wanted to practice getting the shots in focus by using a manual focus camera because when we filmed the extreme close-up of the eye, it wouldn't focus on an autofocus camera. We also needed to change the focus in the shot where there is a dead body on the ground from the camera screen to the body itself. For the shot of the girl running away from the antagonist, we included it in the video as we needed to practice how to reduce the shakiness and if it would come out well on camera. Some of our opening sequence was filmed using natural lighting, which was why we used natural lighting for this preliminary video. We wanted to see if it worked well enough for what we wanted to achieve. The final shot focuses on the knife, which for the practice we used a fake one because we couldn't get hold of a real one. This video was simply to look at a range of shots and see if there was any that wouldn't work in the full product. We also filmed without a tripod for this whole video to see whether handheld camera work would work or if it was too shaky and would take away from the action. From the first preliminary task of the full product, I have developed and learnt many new skills. We did little to no planning for the preliminary videos opposed to our full product where we were planning for months in order to come out with the best quality work. We practiced certain rules in the first preliminary video, such as the 180-degree rule, match on action, and over-the-shoulder shots, which we could use in our full product. After doing a lot of practice beforehand, it meant we could use even more shots in our sequence, such as extreme close-ups, long shots, tracking shots, and camera angles. For example, a high-angle shot suggesting weakness. We didn't use many different shot types in the first preliminary task. Making preliminary videos meant I could use my time to practice so that when the real video is filmed, my techniques will be developed and I will know what to do straight away. Since doing preliminary videos, I've learned just how important lighting is in order to set the tone, but this wasn't considered in my preliminary tasks because there was no colour grading and I couldn't control the lighting. We didn't focus much on sound in the preliminary tasks, unlike in the full project where we used Foley sound as well as soundtracks in order to create suspense and accompany the narrative. In the lift pitch, non-diegetic sound was used, which was a dialogue, but then we progressed in the fact that we began to use dialogue as diegetic sound in the full product, because you can hear the detective and forensics talking over the top of the action. We used a software called Adobe Audition, which previously we would have just used Final Cut Pro, but instead we wanted to challenge ourselves and create better quality sound. Both the Match on Action and Lift Pitch videos had poor quality sound, as we didn't alter the volume or add external microphones, which we later did in our full product. Also in the preliminary task, we didn't use any props, but instead, in our full product, we used loads of props, and especially for the title sequence, we spent about a month building up documents and photos for our crime pinboard, so that it would make it look realistic, add a sense of realism for the audience. Whereas for the preliminary tasks, we just improvised most of the stuff, so we didn't really think about creating props. And also, it wasn't necessary to create props for preliminary tasks because they were only basic videos. They weren't going to be used for much other than just to show the progression from the start of the course to now when we finished our full video. Now, I've said before in a blog post about the issues we've overcome, but since creating our final product, we have, developed ourselves to improvise with what we have and challenge the way we make things. For instance, when we were filming the title sequence and we did the tracking shot, reversing back from the board to further away to reveal the detective, we had to keep doing that over and over because we kept finding a problem with the tripod. The tripod was on a tracker, but it was, whenever we pulled it back, it would always shake, so then we'd have to keep going over and over, putting our weight on it to try and stop it, or even slowly doing it and then speeding it up in post-production to try and get it to reduce the shake. And other problems that we found was that we used stabilisation in the editing process for our for our full product, and that really worked well because sometimes our shots were too shaky, but we didn't want to have to go back and refilm it because of all the makeup that we'd done, like the blood. We'd have to recreate that, and that might create continuity error. So we stabilised a lot of the clips, but then when one of the clips was a close up of the dead body's face, but when you stabilised it, you could see that the eye moved slightly. So we decided to take the stabilisation off that clip, and when we did that, you can actually see the eye moved. So the full product was mainly based on us changing a lot of things and playing around with the software itself to see what worked best for our video. From the progression from our preliminary tasks to our full product, I've learned a lot because, and that's a lot of it through feedback. So as we went along, when we made the rough cut, we went and got feedback from our peers. So this meant teachers as well as students, like people in our class. And we asked for their opinions as well as, watching other people's to see how we can improve it. Because it's alright us watching it and saying that we like it or we don't like it, but it's our target audience that we would need to impress and draw in. So that's why we had to get people to peer review it. So a lot of the stuff people had said were So a lot of them said that we needed to make the narrative a bit more clearer, um, because it was alright showing the dead body, but then we didn't have anything to do with the detective or how she died, and that wasn't very explained. So after that, we went back and to improve our final product. We went and filmed extra shots, got the detective and forensics voiceovers. Bear in mind, when I did the rough cut, it wasn't completely finished, but it made sense to get the shot of the detective looking over the dead body because it's the detective, and that really did set up the narrative for the rest of the film. After filming the shots of the detective walking up to the dead body, our peer reviewers found a continuity error. So what they saw was that when there was a close-up of the dead body, the pavement was darker than the pavement was when the detective was walking on it because it had rained the first time. So what we needed to do was go on to Final Cut Pro and then bring the global scale down so that the pavement matched the pavement, because otherwise it looks like it's filmed on different days. All the things I've now spoken about are very important, from the progression of the first preliminary video, the lift pitch, and then the practice shots. They all led up to the full product, and helped me out because it gave us experience. We learnt what to do and what not to do, and that's how we improved ourselves, and hopefully that's how we will continue to improve ourselves. We found a lot of issues with our videos, but we overcome them just to make it better, and that's a big part of media production as well. Always finding challenges, but you overcome the challenges.